So anyone finding themselves with some sort of challenge in their Spanish at the moment? What's going on?
Yeah, I do, Tony. I find I'm not too bad at speaking Spanish, but I'm really struggling to understand Spanish people speaking. And where I get stuck is the Spanish person will speak, and then there's a word that I know but I can't remember, and I focus on that, and then I lose the flow of the conversation. So my wife says try and take the whole conversation in or sentence in and forget about that word and you'll still pick it up. But I think there's something in me that just concentrates on that word, and I lose. So that's something I need to try and get past the one word that I don't get, because it does all of a sudden make me kind of crumble a little bit.
Could anyone else relate to this challenge?
Definitely.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. It's quite kind of nice to know you're not the only one. I think it is like as adults, I'm very fortunate at the moment because my grandson Rio is just coming up to 2, and he's really developing his speaking. And what he does is he copies. You've got to be quite careful what you say now, because he's like a little tape recorder on instant replay, and he says the same thing back. But he doesn't say whole sentences. He just picks up on the odd little bit. And I'm just kind of going, one of the differences between us as adults and him as a child is he doesn't know, or it doesn't bother him that there are some words that he didn't understand. So he's not distracted by the thought, oh, Yayo, that's my name, Spanish for, grandpa. Yayo said a word and I didn't understand it. And now Yayo's saying something else and I don't understand that either. That's what you're talking about, eh, Pat? It's like in the moment where you think about the word you didn't understand, you're now missing the next few words.
That's a problem. Yep,
there's got to be a name for that. I don't know what it is. It's like,
nerves.
Confusion by distraction. Well, interestingly, I heard, so here's my solution. I mean, other people might have other solutions as well. Maybe, has anyone else got something that they've tried that's worked for them, that they kind of like go, like the cure for hiccups?
I think the recommendation is just to try and ignore it and carry on listening to the full sentence to get the context. But it's so hard.
It is hard. As adults, we are problem solvers. We do not like confusion or uncertainty. We hate it, right?
Especially when it's a word, especially when it's a simple word that you do know, but just on that day, and it's a simple, and then you kick yourself because you think, God, it's only a word like hablar, or a word like something that you've learned basic years ago, but just on the day, it just doesn't click. And it's,
that's right. Yes, Senor Pat. Okay, Senor Pat. Pat. Yes, my name. Oh, yes. Exactly. And so, you go, And so that's even more frustrating, like the tip of the tongue syndrome. It's like, again, but it's wanting to have control and wanting to know what the situation is, right? As adults, that's what we, it's like very, very strong instinctive drive for us to be in control. And so, bang, we're in that state. So, to me, that's what's going on. And the advice I heard from Steve Kaufman, I don't know if you've come across him on YouTube. He's a Canadian. I think he's in his 70s, if not his 80s, a polyglot with like 20 languages. And he's got a video where he says, do not try and translate, right? And this, to me, is the subtext of the problem, Pat. You're probably trying to translate, because if you say, I want to know what that word means, you are actually trying to translate. That's right. Now, here's my theory here. I thought, okay, I'm going to try this with Harry Potter. I'm listening to the audio book of Harry Potter. And when I listen, what I'm trying to do now very deliberately is not translate, just listen to the Spanish, right? And not say to myself, oh, that's a broomstick, that's a witch, that's a spell, whatever it is. With all of the language, with all of it, just process Spanish and let my unconscious do the work, right? And
it closely
and what I've found is then if there are words that I don't know, I just ignore them. I don't bother about it because I've got myself out of the translating mode. So what I'd suggest is going on, Pat, is you're in translation mode. You want to know the meaning of every word. Stop knowing the meaning of any word. Get yourself out of the habit of any of that translation and just listen to the Spanish. And what I do to do it, I'll come to you in a second, Barbs, just to finish it off. I'm really interested. What I've ended up myself doing to practice doing it is I echo in my mind. I say it in Spanish after they've said it. I sort of shadow. So Lisa, could you just say something to me simple in Spanish, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when I say that.
Mi nombre es Lisa.
Mi nombre es Lisa. I say it in my head straight after she said it. I just shadow or echo what they're saying, right? And so I'm thinking in Spanish. My brain is saying the Spanish, not English. And then if Lisa said mi nombre es Spanish, y blah blah blah, and I couldn't get it, I repeat it or I just keep going. So that's and then if you can get into the habit of that, I'm finding I'm not getting stuck on words.
I think you're right, because originally I used to translate, when I was talking, I would translate from Spanish to English or English to Spanish, and it would take me a while talking, and I've got past that. So I need to do the same with listening.
So don't translate, and what you can do instead, because we do have an inclination to do something, is just repeat the words in your mind in Spanish.
Yeah.
And see how that goes. See how it goes, Pat. We'll be very interested to come back to you.
We'll get there.